This is Power King, and in this Foundry video guide, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about battle maps, where to find them, how to prep them to make them super efficient for Foundry, and then how to put them in Foundry and get those walls on there super quickly so there's no headaches, making your life super easy. Now, if you stay to the end of this video, I'm going to show you a really awesome, cool trick to do with your battle maps in the end, changing some resolution stuff, so stay tuned to the end. First, huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. It's your support allows me to put these detailed video guides together, as well as the epic Curse of Strahd Foundry adventures that we've got. I think we got over 30 of those Foundry adventure modules for Curse of Strahd with the maps and everything in there. If you're interested in supporting me and interested in that Foundry adventure stuff, go ahead and check out the link below. It's patreon.com/ParmKing. Thanks again, Patreon members. Awesome. Now, before we jump into this guide, which is timestamped in the description down below, there's two terms that I want to talk about that are really important. You're probably already familiar with these terms, but it's important to touch on them because it has a lot to do as we're prepping the maps for Foundry. And the term is image resolution and grid size. Now, image resolution has to do with the image size of the map. It has to do with the resolution that was being displayed on your computer, and the two most common ones are 4K and 8K, and that means 4,000 pixels, dots of resolution, making up the image, versus 8K, which is twice as many, 8,000 dots, making up the resolution. Now, resolution of the image, the higher the resolution, the larger the file size, and that's important when we're playing on Foundry because we're uploading our maps, so our upload speed or bandwidth of our internet's important, and then all the players are downloading it, and that means their download speed, but also the RAM is important. How much RAM are you going to be using up? So we want to make these maps as efficient as possible to make the game as smooth without any hiccups and runs really smoothly. So I'm always designing my maps to run on the lowest common denominator. So if my player's running on a laptop, you're never going to have a problem running or playing in one of my games. So we're talking about making our maps efficient. That's with the image size. The second term is grid size or map size. This is how many squares horizontally and vertically the map is. Now, a square usually represents in Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder 5 feet is what it's representing in distance terms, and it's where your icon or your token is on the map, and we draw around where this grids are, where your players can explore and fog of war and all that kind of stuff. Now, these aren't synonymous. Now, there's an important note here that I want to make. Foundry defaults their image resolution per grid to 100 pixels. That means horizontally and vertically, it's 100 pixels up and down, and side to side, vertically and horizontally, 100 pixels per grid. I believe Roll20 is 70. Now, 100 is awesome because it's going to make our math really, really easy in here. So those are important things. Image size, grid size, and Foundry is 100 pixels per grid. Okay, let's jump into the three locations where we're going to find our battle maps. The first one is an image search. You can use Google. I'm using DuckDuckGo, an image search here. I have fantasy battle maps typed in. You can see all these battle maps start popping up. Now, the more descriptive your search, the more narrow your focus. So, for instance, if I type in fantasy castle, if I can spell castle battle maps, now we're just going to get castle battle maps in here, and you can find something that might suit your particular adventure or campaign. Now, there's something that I need to point out here, which is very important. When you do an image search, it's scouring the internet for battle maps based on that descriptions, and it might be pulling something from a paid-for site or a licensed site or something that's copyrighted. It's your duty and obligation to make sure if that map is or that image is protected with behind copyrights or something like that, that you make sure that you honor and respect whatever copyrighted material that is in here. But this is a great way to go ahead and find maps on the internet. Now, one of the things I want to point out on here is you can see I'm using DuckDuckGo. I think it's true for Google image search as well, is it has the resolution of the image. It's saying this image here is that I have where my pointer is 1022 by 1224. The one next to it is 4580 by 2778. That's the image size. A lot of these, they don't even have what the grid size is in here. I don't see any that has, this one right here, this map of Krav Maga Castle, if we click on it, he's telling us in the description it's a 31 by 21, that's 31 across by 21 squares down. It's 31 squares across, 21 squares down. But the image itself is 1024 by 694. So this is just one place to find them. The second place that I really like to find images is on Reddit subreddits. There's two great subreddits. I'll put a link down below. The first one is battle maps. And when you go to battle maps, you can just see all kinds of battle maps in here. And what's nice about the battle maps, when you're searching on the battle maps pages, you can use these for the most part. All of these are available for you to use. You don't have to worry about the copyright stuff and everything because they're either map makers making their own maps or Patreon members making maps, putting them on there, trying to see if you, hey, you know, here's a Patreon guy, Patreon Master Maps. He's giving away a couple of free maps, or she's giving away a couple of free maps to see if you like the art, the content. Go to their Patreon page, become a Patreon member so you can get more and more of their maps. The other thing I like about using the subreddit on here is they're going to tell you in their post, in their description, what the grid size of the map is. 26 by 36, this space shuttle here. Look at this. This is pretty cool. We've got this 20 by 36 Forgotten Shrines. So when you find a map that you like, here's a 10 by 10. There's all different types of artwork in here. You can just click on the map and then you can just download it. So we can just click on it. We click on it again. We've got this image here and we can just right click and save this image in here. And you can see this image is, this image here is 22 by 17 across, but the image size is obviously not going to be that same size. Now, the third place that we can find maps is on Patreon. And as you know, if you've been watching my Curse of Strahd videos and guides or you're a Patreon member, I've been using DM Andy's maps. I'm a member of, I think, 5 map makers on Patreon. I like their maps. Now, the reason I recommend, I think Patreon's the best place to go, and I'm going to tell you 2 important reasons. Number 1 is usually you've got a map maker on there who is making maps for a specific campaign, adventure, or setting. So you're going to have a lot of maps that are going to help you, that you'll be able to find for your particular campaign. The second thing is they have a particular style or art that you may like that might fit into the atmosphere or tone of the game. Maybe you're running a grim, dark kind of game. You're looking for more of a darker tone, or maybe you're running a nautical theme or a science fiction theme. So different map makers have a different look and feel, and then they're usually making maps to a specific genre or location or adventure. Now, DM Andy, as you know, if you've been following me, I've been using his maps, and I'll just give you an idea. He is doing Curse of Strahd, and he has, I mean, look at all the maps he has and all the locations. Vlaki, he's got all these maps. Van Richten's Tower, Kresk, he's got all these maps. So he's got a lot of maps for all the locations. And he also makes them in different styles. So if you're going to be using them on tabletop or Foundry, or you're looking for high res or low res or whatever, they're available in all different styles on here. So I always recommend going to Patreon. The third reason, which is important in these post-COVID era times, is our economy. Obviously, things have been a little bit more difficult for a lot of us out there, and this is a way for either to make supplemental income or necessary income in the gig economy and supporting these people making maps. And that's what I'm doing. My Patreon stuff is, well, helping me pay the bills. All right, so let's check out one of DM Andy's maps here. We're going to use, I'm going to look at Blue Water Inn from Curse of Strahd. So I'm going to click on that here, and he's going to tell us right away. It's a 30 by 20 map. He's got a bunch of the maps here. In here, he's got gridless, day, night, rain, no rain, with birds, with no birds, a lot of options. We're going to go ahead and download the zip file here. Boom, and we've got the big zip file. We're going to open it up here in this file. Here, it's almost done. This is a big one. I didn't know this was a real big file. He's got a lot of maps in here, so there's a lot of choices. And we are almost done with his, wow, this is a big one. There we go. So we're going to unzip this file, extract it. And we're going to prep one of these maps for him. Now, we're going to pretend here he only has these gridless maps, but he does have them in grid, night and day. He has them in gridless. He has in Webp. So he's already made these efficient, but we're going to make one efficient pretending that they're not DM Andy. Somebody else has made a map that we found either on the web or through Reddit or somewhere else. So we're going to pick out one of his gridless day maps here. We're going to use this one here, floor 1. I'm going to just copy and paste this into the main map directory over here. So a couple things we know about this map right away. It's 4 megs, 4.2 megs, and if I hover over it, the image size is 4,000 by 2,700. So let's go ahead and open this map in some software. We're going to talk about the software right here, and the software we're going to be using is GIMP. And the reason that I'm using this software, I'm going to open up the image here in the software. There we go. GIMP is a open source free software. It is probably the best open source photo editing software out there. So if you don't own Photoshop and you're looking for some powerful photo editing software, highly recommend GIMP. GIMP is kind of like the Foundry of photo editing software. There's a lot of people that make some tools and support for it. It has a really big supportive community. I'll put a link down to GIMP down below. So we've opened up DM Andy's map on here, and we're going to talk about making this efficient for Foundry, right? So we found this map. The map maker in this case, DM Andy, has told us it's 30 by 20. He's designed this map to be, there's no grids on it, but he's designed it to be a 30 by 20 map. And we know the image size is 4,096 by 2,730. So we want to make this map efficient and make it easy for us to draw walls in the map. Now, one of the important things that for us to realize about map makers is a lot of them are using software like Dungeon Craft and Carta. And when they're designing their maps, they have a grid on the design on there. They're drawing the walls to the grid because they want to make it efficient to run on a grid or gridless map. So he's telling us he designed this map on a 30 by 20 grid. We want to scale this map to 30 by 20. And we're going to do that by clicking on Image, Scale Image. And remember what I told you at the beginning? Foundry's default grid is 100 pixels. So if we know this is a 30 by 20 map, we multiply 30 times 100. We know this is a 3,000 by 2,000 grid pixel map. So if I take 3,000 divided by 100, that's 30, and 2,000 divided by 100 is 20. We've just made this perfectly aligned with the default of Foundry. So here's the tip. If they tell you what the grid size is, take the grid size, multiply it times 100, and rescale your image. Now, once in a while, when you scale one size, if you have this locked, the other size might come up like, with an odd number or something like this. It's happened to me. All you do is just unlock it and then just make it, and it will readjust the map ever so slightly. And so we're going to scale this now. So, and let me go in there. We just, the image size, undo the image size and redo that because I saw it change there for a second. So we got 3,000 by 2,000. There we go. Scale the image size. Now it's scaled. The second thing we want to do is save this in a efficient file format, and we're going to hit File, Export. This is important. I'm not doing Save As. I'm going down to Export As, and I'm going to just change the name a little bit. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff in the middle, and I'm going to call it. It's 30 by 20. I always like to leave the grid size in the name of the file, so because it's a way to quick reference it. We're going to save it as Webp. We're going to type in Webp here. WEBP. Now, why Webp? Why Webp is a file suffix for a type of image that's designed for the web. It's more efficient and maintaining resolution, but more efficient file size. It's made for pictures on the web. And since Foundry uses web browsers, it has been recommended to use Webp file format because it's supposed to be the most efficient. Now, when I export it, I'm using the default export image quality at 90%, and I'm just using the GIMP default, whatever the default is when I export it. I find that the file size and the image quality is going to be, the image quality is great, and the file size, you're making the most efficient map possible at this point. So I'm exporting this, and we're just going to take a look at the difference. We're going to go into the folder here, and here we got the two maps, the original map, which was 4.2 megs, right? And the file size of this one was 4,096 by 27 resolution, and this one is exactly 3,000 by 2,000, and it's less than 1 megabyte. So we've done we've made the map super efficient. So it's going to be fast load times, fast for you to upload, fast for it to download. It's not going to tax low-end machines. It's not using up a lot of RAM. And it's designed to fit right within Foundry perfectly. So let's go into Foundry and check it out. So we're going to create a scene, and we're going to call the scene the Tavern. And we're going to create scene, and we're going to go into background, and we're going to find the Tavern. So we have to choose a file. There it is, right there. Make sure we choose the right one, the Webp file. Boom. And I'm going to hit select. And I'm going to turn the grid lines and just make them white to make them pop out a little bit so they're easier to see on top of the map when we do it. So there we got the grid lines on here. And this is what I want to show you. Let me just go in there and make those grid lines a little bit more prominent. Here we go. You're going to see, if I zoom in, that the grid lines line right up perfectly with the doors and the walls. Because DM Andy told us that he designed this in the map making software that he uses for a 30 by 20 grid. That means that when he was drawing these walls, he was drawing them on a grid, and we've just told Foundry to align to its grid. Remember when I told you Foundry, check this out, Foundry's default grid size is 100 pixels. And he told us it was 30 by 20, so I took 100 times 30, it's 3,000, 100 times 20 is 2,000. And we don't have to do anything. We just import the map and it's ready to go. Now I'm going to show you, because this is so efficient, how fast it is to do maps. We're going to turn this thing on here, and I'm going to show you how fast you can wall this map. Watch this. Boom. I'm going to do the outside here with all these goofy mistakes I just made. So we're going to go here. Boom, boom. Actually, screw this outside one. I want to show you the wall stuff, how fast you can do the walls on the inside. So we get into the walls on the inside because they're on here. I can just leave this on, and I can just go from wall to wall, to wall, to wall, to wall. Boom, check this out. Look how fast this thing is. I mean, you can just wall this thing super fast. I mean, it's just crazy how fast you can do this because I got it snapped. I've snapped a grid on, turned on, and because he's drawn it to a grid, it's not going to take me any time at all to draw this thing. Oh, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. There's a window there. No windows here. There's a window there. And this goes up. Boom. See how fast you can just... I mean, I'm drawing this map super fast because of the grid. I'm going to show you a little trick here in a little bit. Hold on. Let me just get this... Let me get some of the walls done, and then I'm going to show you this really cool trick. There's a wall here, and there's a wall there. Look at, I'm almost done walling this thing already. We got a little wall there, some doors. Let me put in some doors and some windows. I'll just put in some quick windows really quick. There's a window here. I'm going to do this really quick. I have some other tricks I can show you later on, but I just want to show you this one trick and how fast I'm walling this thing in here. I'm going to put this glass wall here so you can't go behind the bar. We're going to put some doors in here real quick. We got a double door here. Boom, boom. This is just designed. I mean, look how fast this is. It doesn't take you any time to do this. Right? I mean, this is pretty easy. Here's a double door right here. Double door right here. So now we've got this map. It's going to be fast to load. It's really fast to start walling this thing. No problems. I'm going to turn the grid capacity way down. In fact, I'll just turn it off. So you can see I've walled this thing already. Pretty much I got most of the walls in there, doors in there. I can go in there and clean some stuff up a little bit. There's a curtain wall right here, so I can go ahead and put a curtain wall in right here. You know, there's some curtain walls here. And I can do a little shadowing walls here. I do a little bit of that stuff sometimes. Or like on these windows right here, I want to make the windows look a little bit, you know, there's a solid wall here, boom, boom, and I'm put a little wall right here. There you go. So I'm just doing some extra little stuff to kind of make the map look a little bit more efficient. You'll see if I put drop a character in here. See how the walls look. There's the doors on there. Look, I already got a door on here. Just F5 this real quick. There we go. There we go. So you see this, I mean, look how fast I've already walled a lot of this already. Okay, so here's my trick. So by the way, we've learned a couple things really quickly. Making our maps efficient using GIMP, loading them up here, aligning them to the default Foundry size. Now here's the really cool trick I want to show you at the end. And I actually did this with this map. I thought to myself, I really love your map, DM Andy. However, I think my tokens in the grid size, and I'm going to show you the grid size really quick. I'll make it pop up again so you can see it. Not super light, but I think the grid size, I need to make it smaller. I want to make it double the size. So let's take a look at our walls. What I'm going to do is something that's going to be really wacky. I'm going to change the grid size and I'm going to keep all the walls the same. So I'm changing the grid size to 50 from 100. Watch this. Boom. Everything almost lines up. It almost lines up. And all I need to do, let me just turn on to fix this. I'll show you. This is really cool. You're going to really like this. It's like, oh my gosh, the walls are off. But look at the map is now, I think, a better size for me. I'm going to highlight all the walls. Select all the walls. I'm going to click on the snapping tool. Right? And I just need to move these off over by one. All the walls over by one. Snap. Boom. Check this out. Oh, how cool is that? Now I got all the walls and I resized the entire map. So I've made the map a size that I think is better for my character. I want the bar to be a little bit bigger and more room. And I just resized the entire map by just changing the grid size from 100 to 50. And then just dragging because I changed it from 50, I had to move everything over, just highlighting everything and snapping it to the grid. And boom, we're ready to go. We're ready to, you can see how fast that was. How awesome was this? Hey, well, anyway, I hope this video was really helpful. It's time-stamped, of course. Please click like and subscribe if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter. There's a link down below. And again, may all your roles be, sorry about that, critically successful. Till next time, this is Parm King signing off.